The more difficult times were when there were hours and nothing happening, and you were really hoping a ship would come up. And then if it did, it was all go. I was 16 when the war broke out, and we all lived with my grandfather in the country in Lancashire. So it was September, so I was at home for the school holidays. I do remember that Sunday morning, we all crowded into somebody's house in our village and heard that we were at war with Germany. And they went ahead with the church service and also with a friend's birthday party that afternoon. But it all seemed very strange because you expected something to happen suddenly, and of course it didn't. I was extremely keen to get involved in the war effort. Really, from the beginning of the war, my big worry was that the war would finish before I was old enough to do anything really useful, because I had to do another 2 terms at school. I'd just taken my school certificate, got rather good results. Nobody noticed because of the war, so it was a bit disappointing. We were all at home in the countryside in Lancashire, where we'd grown up in our grandfather's house, but my grandfather couldn't get English cooks and housemaids, and with a rather large family he felt he must have a cook, and he discovered an agency in London which wanted jobs for Jewish refugee women coming from Austria and Germany. When they arrived, my grandfather said to me, these Austrian people are not going to know which taps are for the drinking water. So he gave me some little labels and a German dictionary, and this kind of made me the interpreter. And I spent the evenings talking to our Austrian cook, particularly Mrs. Getzel. And the result was that I was pretty well bilingual in German with a bit of an Austrian accent. And then I was able to apply for the Wrens. And as you put down any qualifications you had, like driving, I put down German, and they asked me to go to Liverpool. Then I wondered if I'd volunteered to be a spy, and I was very worried that I might have to jump out of an aircraft, which was the last thing I wanted to do. So I was very relieved when they called me up for General Wrens training. And they then said, now you will be going to a secret training college and you will be trained to search for German naval radio signals. Before you started the secret course, you signed the Official Secrets Act. And that had absolutely dire consequences if you ever said a word to anybody. I don't think I even told my mother. I mean, she knew I was in radio work, and that was all. The more difficult times were when there were hours and nothing happening, and you were really hoping a ship would come up. And then if it did, it was all go. A call sign would come up first, which was when they warmed up their transmitters, their equipment. And so you'd pick up a buzz, and then you'd hang on to that, and then they would start to speak. It might be their motor torpedo boats, which used to come over and lay mines or attack our coastal convoys, and they might be saying they'd completed mine laying and were returning to base or something. That would be in plain language German, but if it wasn't urgent, like those sort of messages, then it would probably be in 4-letter Enigma code. And they obviously would think we couldn't decode it. And of course Bletchley did. One of the Wrens would copy the entire message, and then by pressing a button, she could send it by telephone line to Bletchley. And they wanted everything immediately. Of course, we had no idea what the coded messages were about, and it was a one-way traffic to Bletchley. I mean, they didn't tell us anything. Of course they couldn't, and we didn't ask anything. It was only the plain language messages that, of course, we did understand, know what they were talking about, like, look out, there is a British destroyer, to your left, or whatever it was. German naval ships were sinking our convoy ships. So, I mean, it was a life and death time. And if you could intercept a German ship, and particularly if you could get a bearing on it, and pass the information to the Navy. We never knew, but we could have saved lives, and I hope we did. You could see the clock tower in Calais from there. You could see Cap Grinet very clearly. On sunny days, we could even see the sun glinting on the windscreens of German cars going up and down the cliff roads. Abbot's Cliff was the only station where we had an armed guard, and they were military police armed with Sten guns in case there was a German commando-type raid. We thought we would rather like to be able to use the Sten guns if anything happened, so a few of us persuaded our guard to let us go and practice with Sten guns. And you could either do single shot or automatic. Automatic was more fun because it went brrr, but it used up ammunition rather quickly, so they did not encourage it. Not a very useful acquisition, thank goodness. We never did need them, but we felt, it'd be nice to protect our souls if it came to it. We were able to have parties. I had my 21st birthday party at our Dover station. We also got asked to parties by the RAF fighter stations and the local regiments and naval units. One of our Wrens, she was Danish, had made contact with the air-sea rescue people in the Dover area, and their pilots sometimes got rather bored doing patrols up and down the channel, and they had an observer's seat. So they would invite us to join them on flights. I'm rather surprised in a way that we were allowed to do this, but anyway, I do remember the first time I ever had a flight was up and down the channel in an air-sea rescue aircraft. And, the absolute thrill of looking down and seeing German ships and convoys on their side and our convoys on our side, and all this from the air. It didn't happen very often, but it was a very nice introduction to flying. We were quite young. I was 18 when I joined. We were very lucky to have an interesting and responsible job at an earlier age than you might normally have expected to have it. And you knew you were contributing to the war effort what you were doing was essential. I did enjoy it very much, and I'm still in touch with two of the special duties Wrens. We see each other when we can. We've been back to revisit our Dover station. It was rather nostalgic because it reminds you of all the people who are not around now. You know, we were 12 or 15 people who all knew each other very well. And there are just a few of us now.